Hello and welcome, ladies and gentlemen. Fanie Naude here, and welcome to another one of our videos. Today we're going to specifically talk about the lessons that I've learned from Rich Dad, Poor Dad. This is going to be a book review, and I've been recommended this book by so many people. I just had to read it, and I understand why, because there's just so many practical applications to this. It's not so very complex that nobody can do it. Every single person in the world should be reading this book, because it's just so practical advice for absolutely everybody in any stage of their life. So stay tuned for the rest of this video. So let us start off by saying that Rich Dad Poor Dad has been recommended to me so many times. It was written so long ago, and I think that the lessons learned in this book is practically applicable to absolutely anybody. Doesn't matter where in their life they are at the moment. Sometimes strategies take so long to really take hold, but at the end of the day, that's the only thing that you can do. If there's a path to, let's say for example, financial freedom, even though you're in your 40s or 50s or 60s, you still want to do this, because eventually when you retire, you don't want to be, let's say, upholden to some sort of pension or some sort of government to take care of you. Now that's something that I really myself just don't want to do. I don't want to think about, benefits of a job or going and getting employment and thinking about, oh, I'm going to have a pension when I'm 60. That's just so far away for me. It's not very practical. And to think about, I need to build this pension up until then. And then what happens if something happens to the pension fund? What happens when all of that money just gets stolen by the government? Anything like that. I don't have control over something in those lines. So I want to be in control of my life. I want to be in control of my finances. I want to be in control of my business and what happens to me. I want to take full responsibility for what happens to me. I don't want to be someone that thinks about, oh, but the government's going to take care of me. So to get back to what the book says is, you should, every single book like this has so much mindset in it. And I've been talking about mindset for so long that, everything revolves around mindset. But for now, I think what we need to be doing is thinking about what is some practical advice for people that don't have the mindset in place to think about, okay, but I don't want to be, I don't want to be that person that's going to be like, okay, but the government's going to take care of me. So the basic premise of the book is that he had two dads, his friend's dad and his dad. And the one was very rich and powerful, and he had a bunch of businesses. He was an entrepreneur. He had this great mindset, and he knew exactly how to make money work for him. Where his dad was a poor person in the sense of he was middle class. He only had employment and he had nothing else. He couldn't afford all of the luxuries and all of the extra things because there was never any money left over. So he was basically a government employee, he was a professor, and the only thing that he cared about was, the benefits of the job and the great pension, and they're going to take care of you one day. And he basically only worked for money. So when he asked his dad and he said, okay, but please teach me how to make money. I want to have money for myself. And his dad said, I just don't know how to, but I've heard that your friend Mike's dad, he's a very successful entrepreneur. Go and ask him to teach you. And I think that's such great advice, even from someone with not the perfect mindset that you would think, but he still had the insight to say, well, I don't know how. Go and learn from someone who is doing it at the moment and is extremely rich and know exactly what he's doing. So basically, what it all comes down to is through all of experience and learning from the rich dad taught him a bunch of lessons. And I would say the biggest takeaway from this book for me and the lessons that it's learned is that what's the difference between rich people and poor people? What's the difference between rich, middle class and low class? All of those sort of things. Why does certain people, become so successful and get so much money and get so much renowned, where others just stay middle class and never move up or down or they basically either stay steady or just move down into poverty, because there's so many crises that happens, and if you don't handle the crisis correctly, you are not going to survive it. So the biggest difference was that he said, okay, you should have different definitions for assets and liabilities, because at the moment, and I think it's still true to this day, is that even for you guys as accountants, you think assets is something like your car, your house, and all of those physical things that have value. Now, yes, that might be true in an accounting sense, but in a financial intelligence sense, it's not really true, because his definition is a little bit different than the accounting one. He says that assets is something that produces positive cash flow for you, meaning it creates money for you, it makes money for you without you having to do something for that specifically. So instead of saying, okay, I'm going to buy a house and I'm going to live in that house, and there's basically all that you're going to do is you're going to pay property taxes, pay your utilities, and just pay the whole time, meaning it's negative cash flow, so it's a liability. So all that the house does is it creates more expenses. Where if you buy an apartment complex that produces cash flow, produces positive cash flow for you, that's an asset. That's something that creates money for you. So that's the biggest thing I would say, is that rich people buy assets, money, positive cash flow creating, it creates positive cash flow for you. And poor people or middle class people, they buy liabilities, something that's like a car. You need to take out a loan, and you need to pay off the car. I want to live in this big fancy house, I'm going to get a mortgage, I need to pay that mortgage. All of those sort of things. And then the biggest difference is that the one creates more money and the other one creates less money. And it's just depending on, if you have two people of the exact same salary and the one only spends his money on assets and the other one only on liabilities, you can see how the one that creates positive cash flow for himself is eventually going to reach the point of financial stability where the cash flow created is more than the liabilities that he has. That means that he can stop working, and the cash flow that comes in from his assets is more than all of his expenses. So he can basically retire and just live forever, because he doesn't need to work anymore. All of the money just comes in through the assets. Where if the other person just buys liabilities the whole time, I want a new fancy car, I want a new fancy house, I want to buy all of these luxuries, none of that is going to create cash flow for him. So eventually he's just going to need to work harder, get more promotions, and every time he gets a little bit higher in that corporate ladder, it's going to be like, oh great, I have a bigger salary. What does this mean? Well, I can buy a bigger house, or I can buy a more fancy car. And it's just, okay, how about we just take out more and more debt because I have this big salary now? And eventually what happens to the two people is the one reaches 60 and hopes that there's a pension, and that pension barely covers anything, and the other one has this massive amount of assets that just constantly creates money without him having to actively do something about it. So that's the biggest takeaway for me about this book. It's just so powerful to think that anybody with a salary could just start saving, and once they have enough money to buy assets, they buy assets. Instead of someone that says, okay, great, I'm just going to work so hard and just buy liabilities the whole time, that something just eats all of my money away. So even though you're in a small job or you don't have this massive salary or anything along those lines, it's just so easy to say, okay, great, how about we just not spend all of our money on stuff that doesn't create money? Now that's the big thing, is rich people make their money work for them, where poor people just works for money. So that all they think about is, I need to work for money, where rich people says, well, all of my money is currently working for me. It creates more money and more money. So that's such a powerful idea, and I think absolutely everybody should benefit from a mindset of, before you buy any luxuries, first get financially stable where your cash flow is more than your liabilities, and then you can buy luxuries. Why? Because you're already covered. Meaning all of your liabilities is already covered with your cash flow instead of your salary. So anything that you get in from your salary is something more. If you buy a luxury with the money from your salary and your cash flow covers all your liabilities, you're not putting yourself in a vulnerable position. And that's the point that you need to reach before you start saying, well, maybe I can buy a nice car now. Like that's the thing that you should be thinking about. So he also says that there's different types of income streams. It's obviously your salary. So the job that you have or the business that you have at the moment that's paying you, and you need to actively work for that money. Most people only have this one income stream. Then what he says is you need to start and diversify into 2 other income streams, or invest in 2 other income streams as well. The one is a portfolio, meaning you can invest in, let's say, for example, stocks or businesses that creates money for you. So you invest, you get income in return. And then the other one is passive. So this is something that just creates money for you instead of you doing absolutely anything. So this could be something along the lines of real estate, getting a bunch of apartment complexes, they're giving you positive cash flow, and you don't need to do anything about it. You get someone to manage those properties, and you don't need to physically spend time on this. So it creates passive income. Your portfolio creates interest for you because you invested in things, and you have different levels. So with the different levels is you should realize that just to become middle class, most middle class people invest or they save money. That's something that's very standard with middle class people, and it's very safe investment. So it's not something that creates a massive amount of money. So they need to constantly invest and save, and it's not gonna very easily get to that point where the cash flow is more than the liabilities. So you should always have a percentage of your money that you invest should be a little bit more risky. It should have a very high return on investment possibility. So yes, the risk might be high, but the reward is also extremely high. So you don't want to spend all of your money just on safe investments. You want to diversify a little bit and take some risks, because there's certain risks that really pay off. So yes, you should have your steady passive incomes that's constantly creating more money for you, but that should be your stable foundation to build from. And then you can take risks from there to see, maybe I can see an opportunity here, maybe I can 10x my money here, maybe I can 20x my money there. And that's just playing with, the amount of money that you can lose. The others should be stable in your foundational, in your financial foundation. Sorry, I'm just struggling with the words today. So basically what this comes down to is, why should you care, you as an accountant? Because at the moment, we're doing these videos for accountants. We love to work with accountants. We help accountants scale their practices. And why am I doing this book review for you guys? Because I had a very personal interest in reading this book, but I thought, like, if these lessons in this book is so powerful for absolutely everybody, why is it only this book teaching these lessons? Why are the accountants not teaching this to their clients? So even if you're doing individuals, you're doing businesses, you're doing anybody, read this book and teach these lessons to your clients. No, we are at this moment transitioning into only helping accountants with a passion for advisory and consulting. And what should advisory and consulting lead to? You should either help them increase profits, help them make more money, help them save money, or help them save time, reduce workload, make their life easier. That's the basic principles of advisory and consulting for any sort of business. Everybody wants to make more money, everybody wants to save money, and everybody wants to work a little bit less or work a little bit more efficient and effective. So when it comes to this, how about you just teach your clients about the different definitions of assets and liabilities? If instead of saying, well, how about we just buy a bunch of assets that just have value, how about we buy assets that creates positive cash flow, or creates a different income stream? Or how about we diversify into some passive income like real estate to give you a foundation for your business? There's so many different income possibilities. Why are you not advising your clients to go into these? Like, it's not just a core business that should be making money. That's like a salary. That's like getting a salary every single month. If you have a passive income, you have a portfolio that's constantly creating more money for you from the money that you already invested, it's going to really scale up those businesses, because then they have a lot more money to invest. They have a lot more money to spend on advertising. They have a lot more money to spend on business systems to create a better operational business. There's so many different things that you should be thinking about. How can I help this business improve, instead of just saying, well, I'm going to do your accounting and make sure your taxes are fine. There's so much opportunity to teach people financial intelligence instead of just teaching them how to do their books. You should be thinking about, maybe I should just broaden my horizons and broaden the way I think, that I can better advise my clients and create something totally new for them. Because let's say, for example, the business is struggling at the moment and is going through all of these tough times, and this could have been prevented by just having that financial foundations in place that constantly creates more money. Like, if that was in place and they already covered their liabilities, everything else is extra. Then if you hit a financial crisis and everything goes down, you at least have those foundations in place that the business don't fail. Like, we've seen so many businesses fail during COVID. We speak with so many accountants, like, okay, well, this week we lost 5. Last week we lost 10. Over this course we lost like between 30 and 40 clients. We've heard stories like this. It's not because it's bad service, it's just because those businesses closed. And yes, I understand you cannot rescue every single business, but if more businesses had these principles in place, it would have been a lot easier for them to survive this crisis. So I really hope that you guys go ahead and read this book. Don't just watch this video and think, oh man, like, I know everything. There's so much more in this book, and it's so easy for people to understand in the way he teaches it, that I would say either read this book and apply it and enhance your advisory and consulting for the businesses, or go ahead and just give this to your clients to read, because it's so easy to understand, and you should just start implementing as soon as possible, that you can reach that financial stability where cash flow is more than your liabilities. And if that happens, everything else from there just scales like this. It just goes exponential, because everything just builds on that foundation. It's so powerful. So thank you everybody for tuning into this video. I know I struggle a little bit more through this video, because we're still recovering and we are going into a new phase in our business. But we do a video like this every single Monday. If you guys want to watch, support our channel and so forth, we really like the support. Other than that, if you're an accountant with a passion for advisory and consulting, we specifically help you guys. We specifically teach you exactly how to scale your accounting practice with advisory and consulting. It's so powerful. It's so amazing to work with people who have the same passion as we do. So, schedule a call with us, reach out to us, send us a direct message. We're always happy to help. Thanks everybody. Enjoy the rest of your week.